We talk college football here each and every day at MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. But of course, Tuesday night is reserved for the Florida State Seminoles as we go live with these two, Jason Parker and Logan Robinson, each and every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. This may turn out to be a different type of show in our 54th edition, but we are certainly here to talk college football, and we do it all the time, and that will never change. Logan, Jason, how you guys doing tonight?
Living the dream.
Yes, feels good. I had a break last week, but I'm back, and I have more energy than I probably would have had last week. I have a lot of energy for tonight. Full send mode.
Now, Logan, you know that we do this on Tuesday at 7, so how are you having a dinner on Tuesday at 7? I get mom's cooking, I understand it, but
I had canceled and stuff on her before like that, and I think it kind of got to the boiling point. And if you make the mom mad and tick her off, at some point you're gonna be in some deep doo-doo. So I'd rather stay on the good side of her than get in some trouble. So it was good. It was good. I was over there for long, even past dinner, so it was worth it. But I got the energy ready. Y'all held it down. I had it on my phone when I was over there.
I also want to say that you know that it's football season, because if you go to your neighborhood Publix, we got Athlons. They came out. We go right there. Athlons. We got Tamari and Terry on the cover, along with two jabronis from Miami and Florida, and then up here in the corner, you got Marvin Wilson for Street and Smith, along with two jabronis from other schools in Florida. So it is officially, we can start talking about 2020, people. Let's get this party started.
Yeah, we're summer.
The magazines are out there, so we can officially, Jason is giving us a clear go-ahead.
It's officially the season, and James Coleman is not here yet. He hopefully will be joining us, but James Coleman did call it that football practice would return. Players voluntarily returning to Tallahassee this week, so yeah, I'm still a little bit cautiously optimistic, if you will, about if we are going to have football this season. But I think things are getting a little bit closer to where it may not be the smartest thing, but I think we are going to have a football season.
I believe that we're going to have football, and I believe that it's the smartest thing. I think we should open society. I see overwhelming statistics of who is being affected by all this, and more, I just think that, let's get this thing rolling. We should have been open up before, and we should have had different guidelines than what we have. But that's more of a political topic, and we're going to keep it to college football, at least for right now. Big game, James Coleman trying to get on here. We'll get him on here as soon as possible. But we're going to address Florida State making some moves on that roster. 3 commits, Logan.
Yes, Florida State it was kind of quiet after a little while. And I'm sure Jason will talk about it too, but a lot of FSU fans, at least, were kind of a little worried, and Florida State wasn't having a lot of momentum on the trail, and I think that was for a lot of college teams. But Florida State, actually, pretty recently, they just landed an SEC transfer from Mississippi State, was a 4-star in high school, Jerrion Jones. A lot of people were expecting maybe he would have gone to Ole Miss. But Terrell Buckley is the one who was coaching Jones at Mississippi State. He's going to come over to Florida State. And, I feel like every one of these that we get onto, Jason and James, like there's always a new defensive back guy coming in. And I don't know. I saw a lot of conversations on Twitter if maybe the current staff right now, the new staff, isn't too set in or maybe they're not too happy, I don't know, with what their defensive back room already looks like or what they're coming into. I don't know if you guys have any take on that, because there's already some talent there, most certainly. You've got a lot of guys with experience coming back, but they keep on bringing in some DBs, and Jones is talented, of course, but it just creates more competition.
First of all, shout out to big game James Coleman. Thank you for joining us this week, James. How you doing up there in Jayville?
Oh, boy.
Oh, James, we can't hear you.
James, we can't hear you. We got a big smile on your face. We want to hear you.
Can you hear me now?
There you are.
Sorry about that.
James,
you're looking studious, man.
Yeah.
I'm trying to show you guys that I'm taking this seriously, so I have a real mic. But
I like that.
Probably my tech guy, I could push a button and it shut myself up. And unfortunately, I did not tell my join in. But how you guys doing? Y'all good?
Doing good. Mark's got that same button up too. He hasn't used it yet though this week, so just wait. There's still 50+ minutes to go here. But before we go, James, real quick to touch on the topic, the 3 guys that class of 2021 who committed: Joshua Burrell, who's a 3-star wide receiver from South Carolina; Jordan Eubanks, who's an outside linebacker from Denton, Texas, also a 3-star; and then a guy I talked about last week, Jackson West, who's a tight end from Huntsville, Alabama, also a 3-star. So, as much as I've talked positive in the past, I'm going to kind of go the other way with this one. It's great guys. They're all great guys. Jackson West is somebody I talked about that Florida State should get, and it's a good thing that they were able to get him. My issue, and James can touch a little bit on this because it goes back to his time when he played with the Seminoles, is the fact that they are not recruiting the state of Florida as much. These guys we're talking about getting recruits from Texas. We're talking about getting recruits from Alabama. We're talking about getting recruits from South Carolina. And that concerns me a little bit because I'll admit it, I have a state of Florida bias. I think the state of Florida is the best high school talent in the country. I think they're better than Ohio, better than Texas, better than California, better than Georgia. And I feel like Florida State is losing out. They're losing out on guys here in South Florida. They're losing on the Orlando area, the Tampa area. And you talk about during the dynasty era of Florida State athletics was when Florida State was dominating South Florida recruiting. They were getting guys from Orlando. They were getting guys from Jacksonville, getting guys from Tampa. And it's kind of feel like they're letting Florida, they're letting Miami start to go back and get these guys. So it's a little bit of a concern. I like the players. I'm just a little bit concerned that Florida State is ignoring the home state. James, what do you think about these 3?
I think recruiting is about relationships. And this is something that a lot of fans were very vocal about in the beginning. And, we have who are the coaches from Miami? Not Miami, excuse me. Who are the coaches from the Florida area? Who are the guys that are going to come in and establish relationships? That's why a lot of guys, when they were looking at guys like David Johnson, a.k.a. Coach Yak, compared to Telly Lockett, was it really worth it when you have $500,000 plus in salary, plus he's not here? And yes, he has great relationships in Louisiana, but Lockett is a legend in Miami, South Florida area. So keeping him on board isn't and he's $300,000 less. So you can go put your money to go, get somebody else. Which, again, I'm not here to say who is a better coach and who's not. I think Coach Yak is a good coach, and I believe he does have really good ties in Louisiana. But are those things better than, coming here? To me, I personally like the Jaden Hood. Have no problem with the young man from Texas. But to me, a 3-star in-state, or when it becomes to talent in-state, that's similar to what you are going to get out of state, I would always rely on the in-state talent more because you set up relationships further on down the road. St. Thomas Aquinas is a hotbed. They're gonna always have talent year in and year out. So yes, it should be somewhat of a concern. But if Mike Norvell comes in and makes an immediate splash, and from his X's and O's standpoint, then maybe he should be able to make some things happen. The bigger question is not the 3 stars, great, whatever. I'm not here to go into all of that. I don't mind. I think you need some depth. The bigger issue is when are we going to get more alignment? You have Lockett who came in from Mississippi State, and that's a great addition, but D tackle wasn't where you were weak at. Defensive end is where you're weak. Rushing the passer and stopping people from rushing the passer are really where you're weak at. And we've passed on a lot of guys who could really, really help. And that's just something that I just don't understand.
I guess my area of concern is more, and in the time when you were playing, James, Florida State recruited more. You've got guys like, Travis Johnson, who's a great guy from California, Lorenzo Booker from California. You get all these guys from all over the place. And then you saw at the start of the Jimbo Fisher era when it was guys like Mark Stoops who were doing the recruiting, DJ Elliott, Eddie Grant, these guys, they recruited, like you said, St. Thomas Aquinas. They recruited the Orlando area, guys like Kenny Shaw. They recruited James Wilder, these guys from the Tampa area. They kept it in state. And my opinion is you have to have 80% of your signing class should be from the state of Florida. I don't mind going out and getting guys from outside the state of Florida. I get it. I understand the need and whatnot. But when you've got all the talent here, I've said it, give me a 3-star from Miami, a 3-star from Orlando, a 3-star from Jacksonville over a 4-star from South Carolina, a 4-star from Alabama. I want guys who know how to play the best football. And to me, that's where it's that level of concern where you're losing your home base and have to recruit. That's my area of concern right now if I'm the Florida State Seminoles.
I mean,
So
yeah,
just to
again,
clarify what the numbers are, James, we'll let you go here in just a second, but I want to just because I want to put a metric to what Jason's talking about. So 25 signed last year, 12 from Florida, 10 commits thus far in 2021, 5 from Florida, so about half. All right, James.
okay. All right. Well, everybody got froze for a second. But yeah, so I agree with you. And when I think about, the guy, we went and got our Georgia guys. Back in the South Georgia, we dominated that very, very well. Actually, forget about that. Scratch the back in the day. Let's just look at where talent lies and where we should be at. When I played, Tallahassee was really, really good. In terms of talent, we had Pat Watkins, Antonio Cromartie, Ernie Sims. Throw me in there. Greg Threet went to Miami. Gavin Dickey went to Florida. Wyatt Sexton was in my class. I believe my senior year we may have had 10 guys from the city of Tallahassee alone. Now, maybe a couple of those guys were ranked higher because of a lot of them came from Lincoln. We really took advantage of the Lincoln pipeline. Right now, what we have in Tallahassee is you've got not Ronnie. We had Ronnie Harris. My bad, mind blank for a second. But we've got my old high school, Florida High, having a couple good guys coming out of it. You've got I think I want to say it's 3 or 4 top prospects, like at least in the DB in the secondary. You've got a defensive end that we've already got committed, but he's got his teammate, and they're from Gadsden County, which is one county to the west of Tallahassee. Then you go to Jacksonville area, where I don't know if this year is as deep as it's been in the past, but there is enough. We have Brandon Jennings, but there's some other guys here that between Trinity Christian, which you actually have a former alumni who is on their staff, that we've been notoriously terrible at recruiting the last few years. Orlando has some really rich talent there. Tampa area, always you have a Jai Hall who's really, really good, who we've kind of missed the boat on that, but very good, deep, rich talent there. And then you've got Miami, where it's always there. You've got to farm. It's like we've got guys who had relationships when they were at Memphis or wherever they were at, and I respect that. Do that. We have way more time on our hand now for you to be able to continue to mine those relationships and do that. And that's why I've been I've always said this, and I believe there was a call about 2 weeks ago with Coach Norvell. I was on radio. Might know it was last week. I want to say it was Wednesday last week, but I was on radio, and the former players are like, heck, if you don't have the relationships and you're afraid to do it, hit us up. We'll go out there and we'll make sure you can get into that living room. But I believe I get it. You evaluate, you see things the way that you want to see things. And at the end of the day, you got to live and die by them. But I personally can't believe that there aren't some internal battles in those staff meeting rooms where guys are banging on the table about, I really want this guy, and we're not getting that guy.
Well, arguably the guy we've talked about.
Oh, my bad. Excuse me. My bad. Somebody did put that, and I feel that's very disrespectful. Pensacola, Florida definitely has some very top talent. They have a kid from out of Pensacola Catholic that's actually pretty damn good too, that we should be able to easily just cast a net and get them.
Derek Brooks from the Pensacola area, one of the greatest Knowles of all time there on that one. But to touch just real quick on James' point, and then we'll get to Logan real quick. Use an example down here in Miami. Derek Gibson, who won national title with the Seminoles, is coaching Miami Killian, one of the powerhouse programs down here. You talk about all the past guys we've gotten from the St. Thomas Aquinas, the running back pipeline from Miami Central of guys like Dalvin Cook and Devontae Freeman. We should begin this, and we've talked about this previously. Who is Florida State going to use to recruit down here? Arguably, the guy doing all the recruiting is a former Miami Hurricane. Brandon Harris, who was a defensive back for the Canes, is currently a defensive analysis for the Seminoles. He's working for us now. He's an assistant on the staff. He's arguably doing most of the recruiting down here because you don't really have an assistant other than probably Ron Dugans who has that connection down here. So that's the problem that I have with the way the staff was being built. Logan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this I think also is going to have to tell what happens on the field too. Relationships is big, like James said. He knows more than anything than we do, but relationships, and that's probably going to have to be built with Norvell. And from what we've heard, players that have never maybe even knew his name come and meet him, they're pretty impressed. But I think a lot of this obviously it's such a weird time too happening right now, but once fall hits, there's football being played. I think offensive linemen would like to commit. They see that there's some progress going on in Tallahassee, optimism. If they're able to handle West Virginia, it's crazy that we have to think that now, but Florida State with talent should be able to handle West Virginia. And that's where recruits will be watching during that whole weekend of games. And that's when they're going to start figuring out, all right, I want to start selecting these teams and to go do my official visits with. But yeah, offensive line has got to be a big target right now, because I think, the amount of new players that are coming to Tallahassee, not even just recruits, but guys that are transferring in, there's going to be a whole lot of new competition, and there's going to be a whole lot of new work for us as guys that are write about it or talk about it, that we're going to see new talent out there, and there might be some new changes, because we might be thinking whatever was there before the spring, there's been a lot of new guys since then, since even the start of the first week of practice during the spring. So I think there's going to be a lot to be told whenever things get back to normal. And I think those offensive linemen, once they see stuff happening on the field, that's when you start seeing guys that might, hit that commit button.
And just a final thought on this subject real quick. James has said this before, and James is 100% right when he says this. The reason Florida State's having recruiting issues deep down is because they're 18-20 in the last 3 seasons. Guess what? If you're 4-0 going to the Clemson game, you're going to get looks from top players in the state of Florida. You go down here and beat Miami on November 7th, you're going to flip some guys. You're going to turn some guys. It's all how the season goes. Right now, there's a lot of people worrying. Kyle Pickett, I buy the magazines. There's a lot of people wondering, hey, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? If Florida State has a 8-win season, they're going to flip some guys. If Florida State is 6-6 again, we're still going to be struggling. So it's all on how we do this season.
Mm-hmm. I think if we have to rely on flipping, I just think that's a lot of energy that's wasted. They have a ton to sell. Willie Taggart wouldn't have had a ton to sell, but Florida State has a ton to sell right now. And the fact that you've got a new coach who has coming fresh off of a conference championship where he was at, and he led a team to their first BCS. Well, I think it was it BCS Bowl? Anyways, they played against Penn State. They played them very well. He didn't coach. You've got, when you look at your staff, across your staff, you had more guys drafted from your staff than Florida State and Miami and maybe Florida combined. That might be a stretch, but the reality is Alice Atkins has had an offensive lineman drafted. Woodson has had a DB drafted. Coach Norvell has had guys drafted. Bottom line, those are the things that you can continue to push. You've also got guys who are recruiting coordinators at their school. So David Johnson was considered an ace. He was a recruiting coordinator for Tennessee when he left. So he should have a base. He should have these guys in here. He should know a lot of these guys. So recruiting shouldn't be as hard and arduous, because at the end of the day, the program recruits itself. And when you talk to some of these recruits, not a lot, they are very impressed, but they also don't know. When I hear, when I hear guys say that, I haven't talked to them that often, I haven't done this, those are things that I heard from the previous 2 administrations. And I am told, and I believe that we're way more organized, we're way more bought in. So we've got to be able to do well. But there is talent, and if I'm to believe he's a developer of talent and the X's and O's guys that he and Fuller are, then I should believe that the talent that's on this roster, they'll be able to do stuff. But to answer the question, if I don't think I really got to it in the beginning about bringing in a lot of DBs, I believe that's what we were really originally trying to talk about. Norvell kept 20. I think he had 20 DBs on his roster at Memphis, and a lot of those guys play special teams. So him bolstering up the secondary isn't necessarily about pushing other guys out as much as it's about making sure that he's got a lot of top guys to be able to rotate in and out.
Talking Florida State football here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Big game, James Coleman to the south of me right there, both on the screen and geographically there in Tallahassee. Jason Parker, of course, from NBC6, and Logan Robinson from Knoll Game Day. The Super Chat is on. We're talking football, of course. We'll have a few other topics involving what's going on in the country, but of course we talk football first and foremost, and Jason's mighty proud of his new magazines.
Yeah, Kyle Pickett, I buy the magazines. All right, shout out. All right, those are the journalism world. This is what we do. So take that, Kyle. This is what you get for campaigning for Mark Rogers. Mark Rogers doesn't like magazines.
I got magazines. I got boxes of magazines down in my garage. They're all over the place. I got Sports Illustrated from 1978.
Okay, that's just sad. That's really just sad.
I think Athlon Sports says that FSU is the 12th best roster in college football. Tyler P. is telling us. That seems a bit high.
They do. They also have. So it's a little bit interesting if you look at what the early predictions are for Florida State. I'm just going to look down here because I wrote that down here. So Athlon's magazine that you're talking about there that has them with the 12th best roster, they have Florida State ranked number 35 in the country right now. They have us finishing the season 7-5 and finishing third in the ACC Atlantic. A lot of love for Clemson and Louisville being ahead of us in both of those. Street and Smith has us as fourth in the ACC Atlantic, has Wake Forest also ahead of us along with Louisville and Clemson. I found that interesting. They have us in a rematch of the bowl game from the 2007 season, which would be, let's see if everyone remembers.
Wisconsin?
No, Kentucky in the Music City Bowl.
Oh, you had a game when everybody was jammed up.
Exactly.
Ironically, the Music City Bowl when everybody got in trouble because of the music history class.
Exactly. And then on Sporting News has Florida State going to the greatest name of a bowl game, the Cheez-It Bowl, formerly the Camping World Bowl in Orlando, now sponsored by Cheez-It. And I did find out media credentials do get you a box of Cheez-Its. That's going to be one of the gifts for the media this year. So I'll be credentialed for that one. But they have us playing TCU, who didn't go to a bowl game last season, finished the record with a record of 5-7. But here's the one that got me. CBSSports.com has Florida State with a record of 10-2 this coming season. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Florida State football. I'm a proud Florida State graduate, proud alumni. I love my Noles. In my heart, hope they go 12-0. There is no way in hell this team wins 10 games this season. I love the Seminoles. But unless we either move to the MEAC, the SWAC, the Sun Belt, Conference USA, or whatever, those are the only ways Florida State wins 10 games. Because we're not going to beat Clemson. As much as I hate to say it, we're not going to beat Florida. I already did my predictions for Florida State's schedule. We'll go through that in a second. And they're going to lose at least 2 games that they shouldn't lose. They're going to probably lose a game to Boise State, and they'll lose a bad ACC game. That's just going to happen. And it's not a negative thing. It's just a fact. So will Florida State win 7 to 8 games? Of course. Will they win 10 games? Not a chance in hell.
Well, it's similar to what I saw when I predicted Miami last year. I told people that there were 2 teams that had equal or better talent on the schedule, and that was Florida State and Florida. That would put them at 10-2, but they'll trip into 2 more losses for sure, and they actually tripped into 4 more, and they finished 6-6. And I would say I'm right there with you, Jason, that I think Florida State could go 10-2. Those are the 2 games that they should lose, and they should win the rest of them. But what's most likely going to happen, especially with a first-year coach trying to implement new offense, new defense, new coaching staff, new relationships, terminology, culture, everything with all the crazy stuff that's gone on with the pandemic and no spring practice. I think it's going to be difficult.
And before I get killed by the commenter, sorry, real quick, I just want to say, do I think Florida State has the talent to win 10 games? Absolutely. I think they have the talent on the roster that if things play out right, they have the potential to win 10 games. I think that there's just the problem that you've seen in the past couple seasons with Florida State, and we've talked about this a little bit with Miami and Florida State, is that I feel like they don't have the confidence. I feel like, let's say Florida State goes out and loses to Boise State. Let's say they beat West Virginia, beat Stanford, lose to Boise State. Then it's going to be like, oh, crap, can we win again? Then you go beat NC State. Then you lose to Clemson. Oh, crap, can we win again? I feel like they haven't got that momentum where they know they can win these games. They know they have the confidence they can go to NC State, win that game, go to Louisville and win that game. That's just what concerns me right now. If I'm Florida State, it's what's keeping me from predicting more than 8 wins for them.
I mean, I think this is 10-win roster. Everything would have to go right, and I don't see that just yet. I believe there are 8 to 9 wins regular season. I believe there are 8 to 9 win team. Maybe probably 3 games I would go out and predict would be unfortunately losing to all of your rivals. I would, but I also believe that Miami's not as far ahead of us, even though I believe they got extremely better on the edge, bringing in Brian Roche, who and And I forgot the defensive end they had. That's phenomenal. Forgive me, Miami fans, don't kill me, but he is good. And you also have Nesta in there in the middle. So I believe they have a very good D-line. And your D-line coach, I have to like him. He's a former No. So I have no choice. He's not Manny, who is a video guy. I can't really give video guys respect. But I could give a guy who did mat drills respect. But I just think if we are 7-5, from a business perspective, I would have to be very critical of Coach Norvell. If that was the case, we could have kept that guy that we just fired and gone 7-5, and probably had a better recruiting class from the past season. So if I'm to, again, like I always say, if I'm to believe everything that's been said, if I'm to believe that he's a better X's and O's guy, he's a better coach, he's a better communicator, he's more organized, all of those things, then that automatically should give us 2 more wins over what we had last year. So that puts us at 8-4 minimum.
Look, Logan, outside of Tallahassee, there's a sentiment that kind of 8 wins is the floor. Like 8 wins is what will barely be acceptable for Florida State, with that schedule being a little bit easier than it's been in the past couple seasons. Before 2021, when Notre Dame comes on the schedule, 2022, when LSU comes on the schedule, Alabama comes on the schedule, Georgia comes on the schedule in the coming seasons. You're the only one in Tallahassee right now. What is the feeling in Tallahassee? Is the feeling there that 8 wins is the bare minimum that will be accepted, or are there kind of people who are giving, Mike Norvell the chance that Willie Taggart never got?
I think 8 wins, that's what I pick. I mean, optimism and realistically, 8 wins is probably something that should happen for Norvell. I think FSU fans are definitely hungry for, getting to some better bowls. Going to Shreveport is not the most fun thing to do. But I think 8 wins for Norvell is expected. The one thing about him is that he's good at developing. And I think he's put a good, smart staff around him. I think him working with a few of them back in his day is going to help a lot of the maybe early games go a little bit smoother than maybe what Willie Taggart's did early on during his tenure at FSU. I think he has some better chemistry in his staff and will make organization a lot more smoother. And discipline too, I think, is going to be a big change that you're going to see really early on. There hasn't been a lot of discipline the last 2 years in Tallahassee. These players want to be coached hard, and they want to have discipline. They want to be developed on just the smallest little thing. That's what a few of the players said. I remember Julio McRae on this 3rd day of practice of spring. He said that there is a pretty big difference. Coach Marv is sitting there with me, and I'm learning things that I had never learned in the last staff, and he was working on just small little technique things that he never even thought about, and he was really excited. And he also said, I can't wait to just hit somebody. But of course practices were ended and stuff, but I think the discipline and development, I think that is going to change a lot of things where, a lot of those penalties the last couple of seasons under Willie Taggart lost some games too. So a lot of players put the team in bad spots, and it showed, and they just got a slap on the wrist. And the next game they sat out for 2 drives and they were put back in. And then the same player did the same thing over and over again. That player is now gone and hasn't been drafted. He's not going to probably go anywhere else. But
Logan, call the player by his name, Dontavius Jackson. The name you're looking for, Dontavius Jackson.
I can't say number 5 anymore because they're going to think it's Hampson Nasruddin, which is most certainly a whole 180 from D-Jack. But
exactly.
I just think the discipline and also seeing what Norvell does with just 3 stars and able to develop them and playing hard games and actually having to go into the 4th quarter and win games when you're going to go win your conference over there and where he was at Memphis, it's going to show. And I think the chemistry between the staff that he has already is going to show early into this season, and where West Virginia might be a close game.
Jason, I wanted to get this straight. The schedule is tougher or easier in 2020?
I think it's easier in 2020 in the sense that, you still have Boise State, which I'm sorry, I still think they should have.
But they've got to go on the road.
I still think they should have paid whatever money. I don't trust that game. I have us losing that game. I'll go over my predictions in a moment, but I do think we're going to lose that one. But I think you're trading out, a few games. I think you're trading out with Samford for Alabama State, a little bit tougher, but still an FCS game on that one. What are the other games you have?
If we're talking about those kind of games,
right?
when analyzing the Florida State schedule, I don't think we should be.
Oh.
Those should just not be a factor
I
in
think
determining how tough the schedule is. Basically, they've replaced Virginia with Pitt out of the other division,
which is easier,
and the Boise State games on the road, and they've added West Virginia,
which replaces. I'm sorry, who was the other non-conference game we had last season? Louisiana Monroe. I think Louisiana Monroe was arguably a better team than West Virginia last season if they played each other. But I think it's more the fact that, and James has talked about this in the past. Next season, the opener is Notre Dame on Labor Day night in Tallahassee. The season after that, it's LSU, and I believe it's LSU. We have either LSU and Alabama or LSU and Notre Dame, one of those two seasons, where we've got to play both of them in the same year. So the schedule is going to get tougher. That's why this is the best chance to get those 8 wins. If you were, and James to the nail head, if you're 7-5, you could have done that with Willie Taggart and saved a lot of money. You don't bring the hype and a lot of the heat if you're going to go 7-5. 8 wins has to be the minimum. Of course, they don't need to play the games because I already predicted all the games. So
here it is.
Right here. So,
Yeah.
Before we continue with the show here, again, just want to remind everyone we're here every Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time, and the show is at its very best when we've got all 3 of these guys. Big Game James Coleman from Fifth Quarter College Football, Jason Parker, NBC6, Logan Robinson, join him and his many ventures there at Knoll Game Day. Matrix Survivor, gotta love this guy. Mark, you're a biased national fraud for ass-kicking the same 5 schools week in, week out. You're never going to make the big leagues doing that.
You work at ESPN?
Wait, don't you work for ESPN?
You work for ESPN.
Yeah, it's only been for 19 years. I don't know if they're going to keep me around, though.
Matrix, don't use a selfie for your emoji. Don't do that.
Yeah, the lipstick is a little dark, too.
Seriously, get it. But Mark, you're oh God, I'm not even.
Yeah. I don't even.
Can I give my predictions? I think we're good.
Well, when we need to talk about this other player, we're running down personnel. We want to get thoughts on. We got a 4-star coming in, transfer of Jerian Jones, cornerback from Mississippi State, played 11 games last year, had a couple pass breakups. So there's your 4-star, James.
Look at the impression on James' face. Look how impressed James is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good for him. I think he's gonna add depth, and it's nothing wrong with that. You get another guy, but he's I don't believe he's better than Akeem Dent, Travis Jay, Asante Samuel. Trying to go down. Dumb. I forgot the young man that we brought in, the 4-star that we brought in this year. This past. I mean, we've got a lot of guys. Bernardo Green played decent at times. We've got some really, really good guys, and if he's able to come in there and crack the lineup and provide something, I mean, God bless. But the guy who I really was happy about getting it would be Fabian Lockett, who we believed that wasn't coming, but it was some funny. It's amazing how funny and how close and what little things get people to stay and what get people to go. But that's really where we got depth. Now we have a legit 2-man rotation, possibly 3, if you see some of these young guys develop in Malcolm and Ray, and you also have True Thompson, who's gave some good spell. But Lockett should fall into that second spot with Durden, and then you got Big Rob and Honey Fried Marv. But a lot of these guys is good, but you never really know when you get somebody who left another school. It's not the same as when you have a guy coming from out of high school that's still impressionable. Now you got to fight what they did in high school, and you got to fight the ways of how they did things at their former Division I school, which probably has a little bit more things than what Florida State has. And now you bring them over here, and now you got to fight that's 3 things that you got to fight. 3 different now you got to get them adjust to their 3rd different culture in 3 years. So, like I said, I hope it works out, but this game is not perfect when it comes to recruits and transfers.
James, they can't all be 5-stars like you were. Okay, all right.
I was far from that.
From Florida.
I just saw when I watched a little bit of film. I I talked to some guys in the SEC who've seen him and have more of I'm not going to go and say I know the little nuances of what happened at Mississippi State. But when I brought that name up, that didn't strike fear. But when somebody talked to me about Lockett, they told me to go watch the LSU game. Now that speaks volumes to me. Like that list, that's the type of guy that I want. They didn't tell me what game to watch for Jarian.
LSU is kind of the caveat, though. That's like saying, "Hey, watch the Clemson game" when you're talking about an FSU guy.
What I'm saying is, no, not watch the LSU game because he sucked. Watch the LSU game because he dominated. That's the reason.
New King God, we had the same record last season. We finished with the same damn record.
And you guys played a tougher schedule.
Much tougher. We didn't lose to Georgia Tech or FIU.
There was Clemson. There was Boise State.
And Florida. We lost.
Well, they both played Florida.
I believe the last time we lost to a non-bowl game, a team that didn't go to a bowl game was, I want to say, Georgia Tech in 2015, which they lost to last season on their way to a 3-9 record. So,
Jason, as much as the folks in the live chat are going to beat me up for not allowing you to give us your predictions, because that's what they want more than anything. You know, we've got a lot of questions and comments from it. You've got 3 months to give your predictions, Jason. We need to hit on some things that people are actually asking about.
Can I give 3 predictions?
I want to get your thoughts on Keyshawn Helton. So people, after catching 28 passes the first 2 years with 4 touchdowns for FSU, I think is the name of the team. There are a number of people in the chat that want to get your thoughts on Keyshawn Helton possibly breaking out.
The silence should be deafening.
Really? Okay.
Look, I don't. The offense, the passing game is going to be built around Tamari and Terry. It's going to be Tamari and Terry's show, especially if James Blackman's the starting quarterback, which we all, I think, are in a consensus that he will be the starting quarterback at least for the West Virginia game. And after that, I mean, to me, and you guys can jump in and tell me if I'm wrong, to me it's like I need to see this stuff from the other guys. Keyshawn Helton's good, but I haven't seen that he can be a solid number 2. I haven't seen, Warren Thompson, that these guys can be solid number 2s. To me, it's Tamari and Terry at the receiving core, and I need to see it. I need to see somebody show up against West Virginia, because so far I got nothing for these guys.
Everybody knows how much of a fan I am of Kendall Browse and his route tree and his combinations and the things that and how he set up plays. I believe that's why you didn't see much from these guys. Mm-hmm. So like, if you're going to see Keyshawn, like when you look at what Mike Norvell's offense has been able to do, even when he floods the zone or he motions guys, and you see the guy like Keyshawn Helton, DJ Matthews, they're a little bit bigger in the Memphis offense, but but those are the guys that you want to get into space and create mismatches with. Even motioning them into the backfield and letting them be like that second running back. Warren Thompson and Jordan Young have to be that guy, that true guy, that's second to Tamari and Terry. But DJ Matthews, Keyshawn Helton, and then I would say the freshman Brian Robinson would be, if you haven't seen the pictures of B-Rob, like, go look at B-Rob. B-Rob is impressive looking right now. But that's those are the guys that I believe should have some seasons to be able to come back. If one of them can give you at least a consistency that Keith Gavin wasn't able to give us, that alone has made your wide receiver room that much better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like Helton. I think he is going to improve and show that he is that number 2 guy. I think he's got a lot of speed. He's fast. He said he was weighing around 160 last season before he got hurt. Now he's up to, I think, 175, 180. If he can keep that speed and keep that weight too, oh boy. I mean, I think he could be a problem, and he could be a good weapon for he could be that number 2 guy that gets a lot of those yards while they're all stacking up on Tamari and Terry. There's a lot of too much inconsistency with DJ Matthews. If they can just get hard on him and tell him not to run east and west and just run north, and he can do all his juking and he can do his highlights, which I like. I like him breaking ankles and stuff. I got to watch it with Antonio Brown, but Antonio Brown will usually figure out to get north and south on him. But DJ will like to just keep on messing with you and see what he can do and put out on Instagram. But I think Keyshawn Helton by far right now is your number 2 heading in. And if he's fully healthy, right now he looks great. He's in shape. He's lean as hell. And I think he's one of your biggest leaders too. We heard a lot of the teammates last year, whenever he was hurt, very saddened by that his season was over. They were very hurt. And they also showed, I've gotten to speak with Helton multiple times, and he said, this year is big for me because I need to show them that I recovered well, and I'm fighting to get back out there with my guys and show them that I love them, and it's time to get back to work. So I think Helton's going to be a problem for a lot of defenses. This year.
Would either one of you say that he's a number 2 receiver right now? He's a bona fide good enough to be a number 2 receiver for the Sundays.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. I got to do it.
And you've had how much?
I don't know who else. Matthews is too inconsistent for me.
Folks out there are recognizing that James is styling here. It's a good look.
Look, James.
The glare is very bright in here, so these have a semi-tint.
James knows where the sexiness is with the glasses. Logan, get on this train. Mark, get on the train. It's a glasses train here on Mark.
I guess so. I know. I need glasses.
You know what other train people need to get on? Hitting the like button. Right, Logan?
Yep, that is true. You need to hit that like button. We only got 15 more minutes left pretty much on here, but make sure you hit the like button so it gets shared out to more people. Hit the share button while you're on Facebook. Me and James are rolling it down here on Facebook, sharing it away in different FSU groups. But if you're an FSU group, share it there, share it to your timeline. We have a lot of people watching too over there on Facebook. So hit the like button on what are we on? What are we on? YouTube. There's so many platforms now. I'm surprised we're not on Twitter yet too, Mark. What's going on?
Yeah, you got to get that, Mark.
Got to get this
I
on
see
Twitter.
James doing it.
It's
not an option on this. It's not an option on this app that I've got going here, this StreamYard. But I got to make that happen.
Mark, can I get some co-hosting credit with that? I got the transition there with Logan. I got
beautiful. Did you see it at the same time that I posted the comment from Redbeard talking about hitting the like button? Did you notice it all came together?
No, I ignored that bottom part because it's usually making fun of me or somehow attacking me or something. It's a Miami fan who can't spell right. So I usually ignore the comments that you posted.
I brought it up exactly at the time that you were transitioning to Logan for the like spiel.
By the way, I do also want to say one thing to your guy Cam Underwoods from State of the U who does the Miami thing. I do kind of feel a little bit bad because if you watch him on Twitter, all he's doing is playing NCAA 14 in typical Miami fashion, living in the past, playing a video game that hasn't come out in 7 seasons. I kind of feel bad. So if you're here in the South Florida area, hit up Cam on Twitter. Maybe take him out for a beer or something because obviously he needs to get out, in typical Miami fashion. I don't know if Miami has lost FIU yet on the video game like they did in real life. In actuality, but in his world, he had N'Kosi Perry win 3 Heismans in a row. That's not going to happen in the real world. So just help him out real quick. All right, guys?
Yeah, I don't think Perry will be playing much. I think that's it for him anyways. So that's just definitely dreaming of something crazy.
It's just funny because all these Miami people down here in the Miami media, when the ESPN showed the 2002 Florida State Miami game, they were live tweeting it like it was a real game because once again, in Miami fashion, living in the past. But this past Thursday, the Ohio State Miami game from the 2002 season was on. Crickets. That was what happened. No one was live tweeting or anything. If I didn't have to wake up at 4:15 in the morning for work, I would have live tweeted it. But I guess that's what happens.
So somebody commented on Twitter, and they let Cam know that there was a bit of a call out for him to show up to talk Florida State Miami here.
I'd love to bring him.
So that came up in our conversation the other day, and. Yeah, he said he's here.
Well, we're here.
Sometimes. Cam's known to disappear.
Yes,
Cam's known to disappear on the Twitter.
Before we move on to the next topic, let's actually give it up to James Coleman, who's been here, like 5-6 weeks in a row now? James Coleman has shown up in a big way. He was one of the original TV. He's making a comeback.
He's got a nice set going.
He's got the glasses.
This is the home office. Since my boys refuse to sleep in their room, I told them I'm going to take their room and I'm going to utilize it for myself. So, but yeah, man, I appreciate you guys having it. Mark has been tremendous to helping me grow my brand and things like that. And radio, right now we're not on Tuesdays. Now, when the season starts, I got to go Monday. Oh God, I'm tired of it right now. Monday through Thursday, Friday travel to cover games, Saturday cover games, and then I got to do late night radio on Sunday for a team that's dumpster juice.
And we've all got the things that are important to us here. James has got his game worn jersey there, going with the white jersey back there, framed up. Got the helmet back there, looking nice. I got the spear over there, autographed by Bowden. Logan's got his beer containers up there. We've all got the stuff that means the most.
I knew that was coming. And it's summertime too. It's all gonna be filled out. We already got the wall. This was all blank. we're filling up quick too. It's not good because we were at the beach this weekend and it was a problem. What about this Clemson thing going on real quick? Because I just got alerted that Shaq Lawson, the former Clemson defensive tackle, no, we're not. We're 50 minutes in, and this could be the downfall of Clemson right in front of our eyes, and this might be the chance where we might be back in Charlotte in the next 3 years. 3 years.
You hate to see that happen to such a well-disciplined, moral as I've been told by Clemson fans here, how Dabo Swinney is the most. He's all about the morals. He's all about doing everything the right way, and Clemson is such a good school that would never do anything wrong. So just look at the sorrow on my face here, and the Clemson might be in trouble.
Yeah, Shaq
they definitely make sure that these young men find very solid church homes that bring them in and make sure a lot of their God provide. They're very much in the prosperity message. It seems like the collection plate is a little hefty sometimes. I'm not insinuating anything. I'm just saying that I've heard those are things. But in all seriousness, though, it's Dabo is a good coach. Dabo is a personable recruiter. Dabo brings a lot of this onto himself. Dabo and I talked to the same thing at the radio station. I was like, we were so not me, James Coleman. I understood it. I understood both sides with it. He was so vocal and willing to speak out about his about Cap. He was so willing to speak out about players getting paid. And even going to the point where if that happens, then I'll just go find something else to do. But when this stuff happened that you can't really avoid, and you got young men who don't even if you don't necessarily feel like to talk, but you got young men who are trying to process this, trying to understand what's going on, and you wait very late to make a statement, and then your statement that you make, you aren't saying anything. You're talking, but there's no weight to the statement. Then to have this young man come out, and my first thought was I'm gonna rib Clemson, but I doubt this happened. But then when you see a couple other players, and both of those players were lesser known players, but for Shaq Lawson to come over the top and say that guy always looked like that guy didn't say anything, and it just becomes a thing where it'll probably die down. He's going to take some heat from it, but I'm going to tell you like this, in Ohio State fans, what Ryan Day did is the standard. I'm going to be honest with you. When it comes to Ohio State and Clemson, and everything is even, I am going to look out for the best interest of my child. And who I trust my child to go in, who will speak for my child. Because that's what you go into these homes of these people who look like a lot of the stuff that's going on.
3 things. Number one, we don't give Ohio State any credit here because that just boosts Mark Rogers, the voice of college football, his ego.
Whose channel is this?
Well, it doesn't matter. We don't give Ohio State credit here. That's number one. Number 2, we finally found out that Redbeard 40 is actually Logan's family member there. With his comment.
Put that there just to tick you off.
He doesn't. And number 3, Dabo is a used car salesman whose time is about to run up in Clemson. I'm sorry. I think he's trash. I have a problem with it. And this is not just because they're kicking our ass up and down the field the past couple seasons, but I had it when we were kicking their butt up and down the field all the time. I think he's a scumbag. I think he's a slime ball. He's a used car salesman who I hope gets canned by the NCAA.
Shaq Lawson tweeted about 20 minutes ago while we were on the air here. He said he was quote tweeting on Twitter, pretty much replying to this article talking about the Clemson player and him coming out, talking about the incident. Shaq Lawson, who played defensive tackle, we all know about, Florida State fans know about Shaq Lawson, that's for sure. But he says, damn, I always had that feeling about the same coach. SMH, only F word with you when you make plays for them. So the coach only hangs out with you, messes with you whenever you're making plays for him. So Shaq Lawson just tweeted. I think another player just tweeted now.
If only we had a former coach like that in Tallahassee, who was a bad coach that left. What was his name?
The guy that won or the guy that didn't win?
I'll take the scumbag that won.
We'll attack it
right now.
All right,
Okay.
God bless.
We got to take whatever we can get for. Sadly, this is what it's at. But we got Florida State does need some wins. If he's,
I was lost on the Shaq Lawson conversation. I got to tell you guys brought up Shaq Lawson. I'm Googling his name all over the place, trying to find what he said about Dabo.
Dabo's a scumbag. That's what he said. Continue.
pretty much.
So that's pretty
You
much
just
it.
said,
Okay.
did you just read it?
Yeah, I just read it just now.
Well, yeah, I heard that.
And
but I'm
now
talking
it's
about
getting
from the start.
Deleted.
Here's the thing that's gonna.
I caught up.
You talking about what Shaq said or the original tweet
Which
or the
one?
original tweet, Mark?
Talking about the whole situation involving what Shaq Lawson says about Dabo Swinney.
Okay, that whole incident that happened earlier today.
We're talking way too much about Clemson, and we're not making fun of them. So if we're going to make fun of them, let's make fun of them, just like we do with Miami, just like we do with Florida. But let's not give them confidence.
Well, here's the thing: is no matter like Dan Woken, like the stadium, like major outlets are picking this up. Like he's going to have to talk about this now. So it's not like it originally started as a troll, like from like some other people, like because I didn't believe it was real. Yeah, but you've got guys like Xavier Brewer. He deleted this tweet, but he's going and he's a former Clemson DB. He's going back and forth with the guy. And then other people saw me. It's just an interesting. I mean, this happens. I always tell people, you know, Miami had it happen not with the coach, but Miami had it happen with John Vilma and Uncle Luke. Florida State has had it happen a couple with PK and Antonio Carvardi. You never want to see family business put out there, but when this is something in this climate, it's something that he's going to at least have to probably speak on. First
of all, do not defame Grandpa Luke. Grandpa Luke is a treasure down here. He's an American treasure. He's going to be playing at Old Timers Festival. So do not defame Grandpa Luke.
He already does, but Uncle Luke said something in that, like where he was going to call out John Vilma for taking underage kids to a strip club. When I clearly remember when I went on my visit, I was 17 years old before he let me see some things that I had never seen in my 17-year-old life.
It's Grandpa Luke. He's too damn old to be uncle. It's Grandpa Luke.
Facts. Great uncle.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a long week for Mr. Dabo. I think we're just now getting started. I think Dan Wilkins said that his DMs are open, and he does a pretty good job of getting some insight here and there, and will probably be a good article coming out this week.
Dan Wilkins and Brett McMurphy are two guys that I don't really want asking and poking around.
Yeah. No, not right now. No.
Here. Look at our sad faces real quick.
Right. Yeah, McMurphy made life a little difficult on Urban Meyer.
You know who, just randomly, because I just saw it on Twitter, but Jordan Young, and we were talking about wide receivers. Jordan Young, too, I think is going to have to be someone that's not going to be a wide receiver one, but will fight. But he's not going to be wide receiver one, obviously, Terry. But I think he's going to be a guy that's going to step in. I think there's a lot of talented guys at wide receiver, but he's kind of waited, been patient. But from what a lot of players have said, and then from Scoop that I'm sure a lot of us have heard, he's pretty impressive during practice and stuff. And we saw a little bit of it during the bowl game, and he had some nice catches, impressive ones back to back, right on the sideline. I remember. I think he is going to fight for that rotation.
I'm just going to answer Logan's uncle real quick down here at Redbeard 40, who's asking talk about Al Myers flipping to Bama. I don't think he's going to flip to Bama. I understand there's the concern. There's the anytime Alabama's involved, it's just like Clemson. Anytime the big names are involved, you're going to worry. I feel like he's been committed enough to Florida State that I think he does stick with his FSU commitment, and I think Florida State gets that quarterback.
Mm-hmm. I think he's looking at other options because even though right now he's QB1, there's a quarterback that's out there that I believe that Coach Norvell believes that he can persuade to come out to the east, to the southeast. It's not quite the West Coast, but it's sunny in Florida. And they just, in that place where he's at, just got a commitment from another quarterback in the same class. And I believe that, you got to keep recruiting the best talent. You can no longer just fall in love with one kid because it's business. And I no knock on any of them.
Talking Florida State football every Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time with Logan Robinson, Noel Game Day, James Coleman, Big Game James, fifth quarter college football, and, of course, Mr. Perfect, 54 for 54 Jason Parker from NBC6. So I believe we would be remiss to ignore what's going on in the country right now. We don't necessarily have to have some kind of big political debate or anything else, but we all know the seriousness of what's going on. We all have different perspectives. It would be most accurate and most beneficial for all of us and most appropriate to start with James, of course, because of the hatred that's been directed in one way. It goes both ways, unfortunately, but in this particular incident, certainly in one direction. So I was just wanting, James, to get your perspective on the situation and your experience, what you've experienced.
I mean, it's a situation. I have tons of friends who are police officers. I have, I've got friends who are in politics. I've got, and I've also experienced a lot of things. I mean, sometimes I might have earned it. I might have deserved it. Like when I was younger and I was doing some things that I had no business doing. But there have been times like, in my adult life, like where I've been detained in front of my own house because somebody didn't believe I lived there. And a simple but they're too afraid for me to reach in my pocket to get my ID for me to be able to show them something. And I have to wait for somebody to come get me. Like that's a frustration that you can never really understand. I can't really verbalize. And that's happened more than once. But the thing when you see constantly, and it's not about this, I don't look at black on black crime or any of that. I look at it's crime. The same statistics that everybody likes to put out. I always ask people, have you ever read the data? Because the data shows that violent crime or any kind of crime is about proximity. A lot of black people live close to each other. A lot of white people live close to each other. A lot of Indians, so on and so on. And you know what the statistics say? You're more likely to get harmed by somebody who looks like you. And I have no problem with that. It's still an issue. Crime is an issue. What I have a problem with is when those who have pledged an oath to do something, and they make a mistake, whether it's a mistake or they murder somebody, like what we saw. There's not enough justice when it comes to that. And to be honest, in my firm belief is that a lot of this could have been solved if common sense legislation would have just come into place. Or common sense, take them in. Let's just detain them. Take them through the process. And if all the information comes out and there's nothing for it, then at least you try. But right now, there was no trying. It is not just the George Floyd situation. I want to be clear with that. That was maybe the tipping point. There is the Aubrey, and I can't remember his last name, forgive me, but up in Brunswick, Georgia, which is an hour from me, where it wasn't a police officer, but it was a former police officer, and it was 90 days that and the only reason we knew about it was because somebody was stupid enough to put the video out. And then even then, justice wasn't served, and we saw it with our own eyes. And then the young lady Breonna Taylor in Louisville, where police issued a warrant, but the warrant had the wrong address on it. And they say they knocked or whatever, but I know how my house is designed. If you knock on my door, I might not be able to hear you. But if you kick my door in, I'm a registered gun owner. I'm going to shoot. And he did that, and then the police officers did it. And the craziest thing about that is that the perp was arrested that morning. Had they just gone in before, like double check right before you go in there and you kick in that door, see if it's there. Make sure you have that. All people are asking for is that. Now, when that doesn't happen, when it doesn't happen, people start like to throw around MLK quotes and stuff, but they never throw out the one that the riot is the voice of the unheard. And again, when you don't arrest these guys and you don't take them through the process that any of us normal citizens would normally go through, you have people feel like, okay, I don't really know what my options are. And then this is where they come to. Because as an African-American athlete and African-American in media, you tell me, shut up and dribble. Don't just stick to this. And I haven't looked at the comments, but I'm sure that's coming. You tell me that taking a knee is disrespectful to the military. You tell me that, marching is it's always fussing about something. So when we go through all the list of peaceful things that people have done and have been met with the same vitriol, then what do you think is going to happen? That's when people do this, and I am not excusing that. Rioting and looting is terrible and it's wrong and it hurts innocent people. But so does killing people without their due justice, because it puts innocent cops' life in danger who are just going out there and doing their job. But because you, the bad apple, chose to take things to the next level, now they have to be on edge. And that's really just when it comes to that. What other people are saying, the politicians and other guys are weighing in on it, but it's just a scary thing. And when I was telling somebody, it's not about me. I've never had a fear of dying. I actually thought I never thought I would live this long, to be honest with you. But I have a 7-year-old. And I have a 17-year-old that's going off to college. She's going to go to Southern University. I have a 7-year-old. My 7-year-old asked me a question. He was like, Daddy. And he doesn't know. He lives in a very nice neighborhood. His godfather's white. He played football at Marshall. It's a bunch of other. He's surrounded. He is nowhere near the way I grew up. But he asked me, he's like, Dad, is Uncle Toby, are all these other people, these people that you work with, these people that cheer you, are they as upset or as hurt? And are they as fearful for their life as me? And that's not, and I swear to God, that's not one of the things that people go in. I fleshed it out a little bit. But the crux is, how the hell do you answer that for a 7-year-old? Like, I don't know the answers. I don't lie to my son. He doesn't believe it. Like, we celebrate Christmas, but we don't celebrate Santa Claus. I work way too damn hard for him to believe that a fat white guy came down the chimney and gave him gifts when this came out of my pocket. But we do celebrate Christmas. I tell him the truth as much as I can. But what I suggest for people, if you really don't like all of this other stuff, and I'm with you. I don't like the rioting. I don't like the looting. Can you please come up with some options that are acceptable? Because people are running out of solutions of what is acceptable because you didn't listen then. But the one thing I will say that's happened in all of this is that people have listened. Atlanta's listened. When they had somebody come out of pocket, they fired people. Louisville has listened again. When they killed a protester, they fired the police chief. People's jobs are going to be on the line. And I think it's time. The one thing I do love, though, and I'll wrap it up, is that people are coming together and seeing that a lot of this is just bullshit. And as police officers are coming together. Camden, I want to shout out Camden, New Jersey, and their police chief. I believe it was Houston, Texas police chief. They came out in riot gear, which if you've never had a place raided or you've never been roughed up, it's not the funnest thing in the world. But they came out in their riot gear. They took the riot gear off and they announced to the crowd. I don't think that was right. What happened in what happened in Minneapolis. But what I and I'm with you, and I'm going to march with you to make sure that you're safe and make sure nobody else does anything. See, that's leadership. Don't quote Martin Luther King. Show me in actions what true leadership is. And for once, like these guys are doing, but for once in people's lives, be the de-escalators. And that's what, and I think that's really what it comes down to.
For those who have a problem with the idea of the protesting and the rioting, and I've heard it because we had issues down here this weekend with fire starting, and I'm sorry, I watched the video of all of them Saturday and Sunday, and it was police. The protesters were being peaceful, and the police started going after the protesters. So that's what happened down here in Miami and Fort Lauderdale this weekend. But for those who sit there and say, "Oh my God, I can't believe they're rioting. I can't believe they're protesting. I can't believe they're doing all this stuff," look at the reason why this happened. Look at the reason what took place. The man, George Floyd, a black man, lost his life over an alleged forgery charge, over allegedly using a fake $20 bill at a store. Because of that, he had a police officer put his knee on his throat for 9 minutes. 3 of those minutes, George Floyd was not conscious. He had lost consciousness 6 minutes in, and the last 3 minutes, he was dying. And the officer kept his knee on his throat. That's why people are rioting. That's why people are pissed off. And for people who want to sit here and continue to use the term, yeah, but, we do it in the media all the time. Whenever somebody is shot dead at their home, shot dead at their business, we do a search to see if they have a criminal record. Every TV station does that. That's a fact. We look to see, it's almost as if we're trying to justify why that person died. That's a problem. So people who want to use the term "yeah, but" or try to justify, this man lost his life over an alleged fake $20 bill. I have never heard of a white person. And for those who are sitting there saying that all cops are bad, I don't believe all cops are bad. I believe there's a large, vast majority of law enforcement officers who are good, decent people who are doing their jobs, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Native American, every single race, religion, ethnicity, sexual orientation, and whatnot. The problem is the bad cops, and what's even worse is the cops who defend the bad cops. We had a police officer down here who shot a man who had his hands up. He was a caretaker for an autistic teenager. The autistic teenager had a toy truck, and they shot the caretaker. And the leader of the Police Benevolence Association, the leader of the police union, came out and defended the move. You can't defend that. You can't defend a lot of the police brutality that is going on. So what needs to happen is people, like James said, people need to both step up and condemn these actions, and we need to figure out how we can be better law enforcement officers. It's not fair, I get it, but would you also trust it's the famous Chris Rock skit that's going around. Would you trust American Airlines if they said, yeah, all our pilots are great, but we got a couple bad apples that like to fly in the mountains? He's making a joke, but it's a fact. Unfortunately, that's what law enforcement is. You have to be in a field where, yeah, you're going to have a couple bad days, but killing a man over an alleged use of a fake $20 bill, I'm sorry, I've never heard that happen in the suburbs.
Well, my only thought about that is that I don't know that we can ever vet or predict what people's actions are going to be to the extent that we're going to have whatever the number of policemen are across the country that are never going to take that type of horrible, disgusting act into their hands. But what we can do is, I understand he had like 18 incidents on his record. I don't know. I didn't look into what type of incidents that he had. They obviously weren't to that degree, but
three shootings total, 3 total shootings.
Yeah, so
One
those should
fatal.
have been taken into account, and he probably shouldn't have been on the force at that point.
Yeah.
You know, they won't even release. They're trying to fight for people to not release police conduct records. But you said something that was very tough, and I'm sorry, Logan. I'm gonna let you talk. I don't even want to get into it. But so I don't talk about this a lot. But my boy's mother, both my boys, their mother is military. She's been to the dirt twice, so that's what they call it. She's been in Iraq once, Afghanistan. She's an officer now, very cushy job, but what she has now. But before she was an 88 Mike, and the 88 Mike is a truck driver. So I don't know if anybody understands military or understands things like that, but the people who get attacked the most aren't necessarily frontline infantry. They have to get into it, but it's the supply lines. So, and that's what she did. She drove the truck, and she's been in multiple. I think she said she was in 5 firefights. And one thing that she told me was that no matter how you're actually in a war zone, and no matter what happens, if they fire and they shoot in the wrong direction and they kill the wrong person, Arabic person who's over in there, you know what? You know where they go? Fort Leavenworth. They go to jail. So in a real war zone, non-American citizens get granted a little bit more luxury when it comes to that. And the U.S. does not play games when it comes to that. And that's when she was 18 to 22 years old. So you're telling me an 18 to 22-year-old in a war zone that's not trained for de-escalation, they're trained for war, that can be fired upon, can have the wherewithal to identify who the real target is and who isn't. That's what people say we love our military, and I joke around that. Having been a military spouse, I call bullshit on that, because you don't. Because if you did, you would understand that there's a person who loves her sons who can't do her job as effectively because her sons are going to grow into being like their dad, probably over 6 foot, probably over 200 pounds, and probably you looked at as not given the benefit of the doubt sometimes. But my point is that we don't have real rules of engagement. And I get it. Criminals don't, just like insurgents, don't follow the rules. But we give them the benefit of the doubt in a real war zone. When you're coming up into U.S. citizens, you're not. And I'm willing as again a registered Republican, I'm willing to pay more in taxes to make sure that I don't get killed. Like if you want to pay police officers more, push out the legislation. I'll sign it. I'll make sure other people sign it. You want to pay for police officers to get more training, put it out, sign it, raise my taxes. I have no problem. But I don't want to. It shouldn't even come to that. But again, a lot of people like to talk about things, and a lot to say they like things. But I mean, and even in the military, I'm not saying that it's perfect. I'm sure stuff happens all the time. But I can tell you, if you knew in the back of your mind you're going to go to Fort Leavenworth, if you killed the wrong person, I bet you maybe you would have been 3 minutes on the neck. I can't prevent the neck thing, but I'm saying it would have been a little bit more thought. Or I would have been, do I really want to escalate this situation for a potential counterfeit $20 bill? Like right now, that's why I barely carry money, but I think I got $15, $20 in there, $20 bills in my pocket, and maybe one of them's counterfeit. I don't know.
So if you want to rob a house, don't rob James Coleman's house in Jacksonville.
She doesn't really, they don't really, they don't know, they don't shoot pistols. Like the one that you don't need to, again, I'm the pit bull. I know how to shoot. I mean, I don't want to though. I don't want to. But I mean, the thing is I just want people to really have the same, like realize that really all lives do matter. And it's Black Lives Matter, and a lot of this other stuff isn't negating all lives. Nobody goes and says, when somebody says my mom died of cancer or died of breast cancer, nobody goes and says all cancer matters. I don't care about breast cancer. If I go up to if my mom asks me, do I love her? I don't say, no, mom. That's so disrespectful. I love everybody. No, what you do is you understand when things are a certain way. And, people I want the same. I'm a really nice guy for the most part. I want the same benefit of the doubt that I give everybody else when I encounter them. And I don't want to play Russian roulette when if I ever get pulled over by the police. I want a consistent, concise thing. And if I do something wrong, or if my kids do something wrong, I want my day. And now court system is a completely different conversation, but I at least would love to live to get the bologna sandwich in county jail to be able to have my day in court. And I don't want to be on because the thing that was the most, like Logan's younger, so like he's closer to this, but like when I was little, or even when I was playing ball, when I got hurt, I wanted my mom. Like that man's last words was to his dead mama, man. Like he was a big, strong, grown-ass man that reverted back to a child during his last moments. I don't fear death. What I do fear is how I go out. I don't want to die like that over bullshit. And I don't understand anybody who can't. I don't understand how you can't understand that. I don't know, man. I don't know everything.
The worst part, I'll say this real quick, is that this is, I feel, the same argument we had with Trayvon Martin, same argument we had with Eric Gardner, and I really fear that it's going to be the same argument we're going to have next year or the year after that. Logan, what are your thoughts?
I want to read real quick, because this was just 10 minutes ago, to Sean Reed, who was covering the FSU. He's now covering over there in Vegas. But Mike Norvell just put out a statement talking about that he spoke with the team all throughout the weekend. I'll read some of it here. He said, "We've had a lot of open communication with our team, our players, and our coaches. I went back and forth individually with each player this weekend, and that was something that was important to me because this is a heartbreaking time in our country. You see hate and you see discrimination. You see some of the acts that have occurred. I mean, it is a problem. It's something that we have to stand together and we have to work to get fixed. I'll continue to share with our guys the platform that they have and the opportunity that is there for them to make a difference, to be an influence, and to be able to impact our country in a positive way by the overall mindset and approach of how we treat people to how we respond in situations. I told these guys just how grateful I am to be a part of this journey. And with them, they are the future. They've got an incredible group of men that I get a chance to work with as players and coaches. I'm honored to have the opportunity to help make a difference. That's something that we definitely have talked about, and a big picture team approach, but also more specifically, the individual and group conversations. We're trying to meet our guys at their need and be able to share some of the emotions that we're all going through. So that's something that Mike Norvell just put out just a little bit ago. But I grew up playing football. Y'all hit everything right, so I don't need to say much more. But I grew up playing football. There was no colors. We were brothers before anything. We fought in the locker room. I played with Amari Gaynor. We fought out in the field, but we were always brothers right there, hand in hand. And so there was never, for me growing up, there was no different color. We were, I mean, brother, blood, sweat. And that's something that I think, at least from my age group, I'm the youngest one here, but it's something that I think you grow up with. It depends on your parents and your family. But luckily, my family and growing up, they put me into positions where playing sports and being around them and me being around people that are not my color. I mean, it's just something that's just different for, I think, a lot of other folks. And there's people that have racism in them. We live in North Florida. I live in North Florida. I went to a school at Childs that gets hit all the time with all different kinds of things being said, Confederate flags waving everywhere. And I think it's just such a time right now where, you know, I texted my guy, John Mitchell, played wide receiver at Childs, same age. I was playing ball with them while we were all in quarantine just a couple weeks ago. He plays at FAU with Willie Taggart. I texted him today and just asked him if there's any way he would let me know the next time he was marching. He was marching a couple days ago on Monroe Street. I texted him today asking if there's any way he would let me know. And I'd like to be side by side with him walking, and a few of our players too from back in 2016. So I think it's a time where a lot of people are going to say a lot of things and put it out on social media and put out posts and stuff, but it's all about taking action and doing things that's going to make a difference.
And I want to say one thing real quick, and Logan hit the nail right there on the head. It's all about being taught. You're not born. You don't come out of your mother as a racist. And I'm saying this about white people, black people, Hispanic people, whatnot. You are educated and taught to be a racist by either your parents, by your upbringing, how they are the ones, your surroundings, what your parents say, what your parents do. And I'll give you a prime example. I've said the N-word one time in my life, and it's because I was called a N-word lover when I was 9 years old, and I had never heard that word before in my entire life. And I went to my father and I said, Dad, so-and-so called me a N-word lover. What does that mean? My father had the look on his face like I had just come home and said I killed 12 people in a mass shooting at my school. And he said, it is the worst thing you can call a black person, and you never, ever use that word again. In my over 25 years since that point, I have never used that word since, because I was taught at an early age, you do not discriminate against somebody based on the color of their skin. You let them prove how horrible their character is before you discriminate against them. I love James Coleman. I don't give a damn that James Coleman's black. I love him because he scored a touchdown to beat Miami. I love Logan Robinson. I don't care that Logan Robinson's white. I love him because of his love of cheap beer, and I know that his economic status is going to be perfect once he graduates. I love MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. I don't really like his politics or the way people keep wanting him to be vice president in 2020, but I still love all his hard work and everything he does.
Okay, I knew it was going to be a reach. I didn't know what it was going to come out of your mouth.
I was worried about a few things.
As you should have been, because I was kind of stretched there. But the point is, you all have earned my respect because of your character and the way you have done things. Because you have to be taught at an early age. And the problem is, and especially, and I'm sorry, living here in South Florida, there's a lot of people down here who are more racist than anyone I met in my 4 years of going to school in Tallahassee. For people who want to make fun of Central Florida and North Florida, there's a lot more racists down here in South Florida in a certain area of the population. But that's a different issue for a different day. But it's all in how you raise. So James is doing the right thing with his children. I'm sure Mark Rogers did the right thing with his children. Logan, God knows how many children he's got already at the age of 22 going around the streets of Tallahassee. So God knows, just Logan, do your job. All right, buddy?
I'm trying to.
Two little nuggets come to mind. Two little nuggets come to mind based on what Logan and Jason just said, but I don't want to say too much. I've got all sorts of thoughts and feelings about this, but I don't want to say too much because I don't want to take away from what James said initially, because I'm going to take that, I'm going to post it on Facebook, just take out what James had to say, because it was just amazing start to finish. Two things came to mind, though. I shared a video on Facebook the other day. It was little black girl. She might have been mixed based on just how she looked. She couldn't have been 2 years old, and she was at some type of music festival, and they were just showing just this girl was just running throughout the crowd, just hugging people. And to Jason's point of coming out of the womb and having that natural feeling of community and love for everyone, and then that being contaminated by hate and ignorance. And it was just a great video to see. This little girl just couldn't get a hold of as many people as she could possibly get a hold of. Another thing came to mind when you guys were talking, and Logan in particular, when he said something about the way people are raised. I was watching the NFL Network has these tremendous Super Bowl documentaries on every team that's won the Super Bowl and kind of telling the story of each season. 1966 Green Bay Packers, first Super Bowl champion. Bill Curry, their center, played at the University of Alabama during a time of desegregation, or segregation, I should say, prior to desegregation. And he was very upfront about this. And I give him a lot of credit for basically saying, I was taught that I was superior. I was taught that I was smarter. I was taught that I was better than black people. I played at the University of Alabama. There wasn't a black soul in the locker room. I suddenly get drafted by the Green Bay Packers. I walk into an NFL clubhouse and a locker room, and I'm mixed with black players, and I didn't know what to do with that, because what I came to find out was they were helping me, and they were befriending me, and they were being nice to me, and they were showing me better technique and how to be a professional. And suddenly within weeks, I had this internal struggle because I had been taught a certain way, and I love my family, but what was being shown to me was I felt horrible. I felt horrible about the way I was raised. I felt horrible about what I had always thought, or what my feelings were toward these guys when I first walked in that locker room. But it changed rather quickly because, as Logan pointed out, when you are in quote unquote battle with what can be a brotherhood, then the ignorance tends to go away. And that's why some level of education about right and wrong has to come into play in all this, and just the mixing of people and understanding and appreciating other people's experiences, their backgrounds, their culture, and not just looking at what they look like.
James, your kids would love me. I'd be a great babysitter. I'd just load them up with sugar, pizza, everything bad, sodas, and then just give them right back to you. You'd be in trouble. They'd love me.
I mean, like I said, I give people the benefit of the doubt. And plus, most people who get my kids know, even my mother and my sister know, if they don't come back the same way I left them, there's going to be hell to pay. So, like, you babysit at your own risk. And they're, especially the young one, killer's a little bit different. But, I mean, like I said, the biggest thing is that my mother and my grandmother watched these things. My mother was the first person in my family to attend an integrated school. And trust me, she wasn't met with smiles and Hallmark cards. My grandmother was old enough, obviously, to do that, and my great grandfather, he was in his church. They did a lot of things during the Civil Rights Movement in central New Jersey, Trenton, New Jersey. They saw these things, and then they thought that was done. They thought they birthed somebody into a world that was better. Only to feel like they're being pulled back. And then the same thing with me is like, I know things, but I'm like, yo, I got 2 kids. I feel selfish. Like, I feel like I brought them into a world that I already knew was kind of fucked up, but I literally brought kids into something that is really maybe worse than even what I grew up in, because it's not always blatant. It's hidden. But I also know that what gave me joy was seeing my son on FaceTime with his god brother. Again, like I said, who's white, and they're talking for 45 minutes, like they're 2 old men just having a good time. So I mean, there's hope. We got to be able to do stuff, but the biggest thing is if you're upset, you got to be able to go out there and really speak your mind and not be afraid, because guys like me actually don't get a chance to hide. And I have to speak about what the reality is, and I have to speak about opportunities to get better. But I also have to be a leader, because guys like me, like a guy like I talked to Charlie Hunt on my Dope Boys podcast. I'm going to have the original 4 African-American players that came to Florida State who don't get talked about enough. But when I talked to him in the preliminary stuff, he's like, yo, this looks like what I saw when I came to Florida State. That's not good. He fought way too hard for the opportunities like this. And then when I hear Jaden Woodby say this, and I know this sums up with a lot of guys, my comment to him wasn't as nice. I just said, fuck that. Do what you do. Don't let nobody silence you. It sucks as a student athlete. You have a muzzle on your political views and controversial thoughts because it can mess up your draft stock, image, and or reputation. At a certain point, as America, e pluribus unum, out of many we are one, we need to love the actual people who don't look like us in the same way we love their culture, we love the way they entertain us, and we love them for wearing the colors that go out there and beat up people for us to be able to cheer and have a podcast like this. No matter what you want to say, we're not Greece, we're not Italy, we're not Russia, we're not that. Our country wasn't built like that. Our country was built by a bunch of immigrants, that a lot of outcasts, the downtrodden, that came here, worked together to make something really, really good. It's not a melting pot, it's a salad bowl. And it's dope. I love Italian food. I would never ask a white person not claim they're Italian, because Italian food is delicious. I love Chinese food. Chinese food is amazing. Even during the COVID and people being racist, I ate Chinese at least 4 times. It was even better. Southern food is good. I have my Hispanic, my kids are half Hispanic. Their grandmother lives with me. She makes rice and beans. I'll open the door up and give anybody some rice and beans, man. It's this, you got to understand it. Like, and when I joke about, white culture sometimes, it's not because of racism, it's because I don't know. I didn't grow up white, and I genuinely want to know what it's like. And then when I find out,
you're not white, James?
Yeah, I'm not. Just believe it or not, I'm not white. But I genuinely want to know. And you know what I find out 9 times out of 10? A lot of people say, yo, we did that too. And then you find out you got way more in common than you do apart. And I think I'm not here to say people, why can't we all be the same? Because that's not what makes us great. I don't want you to be the same. It's like I like my food seasoned. If all food tastes the same, it would be bland. It's a reason why you got pepper, why you got salt, paprika, nutmeg, all these different things. If you put all that stuff on some chicken or some other stuff, it's going to become a delicious meal. So, I mean, that's the thing. Like I said, man, it's dope. And I can't say that I hate white people. I can't say I hate cops. White people help pay my bills just as much as black people help pay my bills. So I love all of that. But at the same time, again, like I said, it's just, it's dope. I love working with people. I love building people. And, at the end of the day, all people ask for them is civil rights. Let's be civil. It's civil. Like, not anything over or like black. Like, I didn't create that. Michael Chia, comedian. Black lives matter, not more. Like, matter. Like, just matter. Like, that's the negotiation, is matter. Like, we don't want it anymore. We just matter. And yes, everybody else matters. But again, treat the person that you that's different. And then I think if we all got a chance to, now I've hung out with Logan before, talked to him at games, talked to him at practices. If you get a chance to go find somebody who's different than you, pour into them. Like that guy, like you was just, basically that's what it was, Mark, what you talked about. It's impossible to hate somebody that you love on. You can't do both. Go in there and pour into somebody. That's what made me not hate white people. I'll be honest. Somebody snatched me out of my neighborhood. I went to Florida High, which is a developmental research school, basically a private school. A white man drove into my neighborhood damn near every day. Actually, his youngest son, inboxed me on Twitter and told me, thank you for treating me with so much love and kindness. Little white boy. Like Maddie, I had forgot all about him until he inboxed me. But Coach Campbell, Pat Campbell, out of Merritt Island, Florida, if anybody's listening to this knows him, Coach Campbell is the guy who came into my neighborhood every day, picked me up, took me to school. My mom thought he was weird, and wanted to understand what his interest in a little black boy was. But that's my mom. If you've ever heard me talk about my mother, she's protective. But that guy coming in and then helping me, dude, it just, like I said, it changed my life.
Two quick things. Logan, number one, do you remember meeting James Coleman, or were you a little bit inebriated at the time? Or do you actually?
No, I think we met early, like 7 a.m. at Willie Taggart's first practice. And
Hey, that happens. I'm just asking.
yeah, little did we know.
There's a lot of music.
Little kicks. That's what. Number two, I just have to say something. And Mark put the comment up there, and it's just something that has been driving me crazy. And working for a TV station and whatnot, it drives me nuts when people want to blame the media. Okay, one of our reporters was tear gassed for doing her effing job this weekend. She was standing there reporting on our live shot, and she got tear gassed. Why? Because the cops were just shooting off the tear gas at some point because they're like, okay, it's time to just do it. Let's start shooting off. That's number one. CNN had a reporter arrested for standing in the middle of a road doing a live shot. And then it was later released after it got blown up on Twitter. The CNN executives called the governor, and the governor said, open the damn door and let the crew in. So the journalists are doing their jobs. Okay, does the job suck sometimes? Yeah. Do I like writing everything? No, I don't. Does some of the stuff piss me off? Yeah, of course. But you do your job. And so for those of the people who want to blame, and they go, I've never met a racist person ever. We don't allow that blank around here. Everyone loves everyone. That's bull, Melissa. I'm sorry. Everyone.
Oh. I tend to think it's bull too, Jason, but I'm not going to argue with the woman's experience. That's what she's telling us. We don't know what she's encountered, so we're going to leave it stay there.
I have never met a racist person ever. You don't know that. You don't know.
Well, of course you don't know it. You don't know the hearts and minds of people until they act.
I can sit here and say I'm happily married, and
let's not argue with the commenters.
No, you can sit there and say it. Everyone has met a racist person. There's been a racist person in everyone's family. And some of the commenters have been right. You may be raised by a racist, but you may not end up being a racist, absolutely, because of who you are, because of who you hang around with, who you go to school with, and that may mold you. But it's how you're shaped initially. I was shaped to love everybody. James was shaped to love everybody. Logan was shaped to love everybody. MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, was shaped to love everybody. Not everyone has the same upbringing that we did, and that's what sucks. And so that's what it's for this generation. James, keep raising your kids right. Mark, keep raising your kids right. Logan, keep raising your kids right when you have
find
kids.
them, track them down.
We got a long ways to go. I think I don't have to worry about them right now. If I don't know where they'd be though.
All right. I've enjoyed the conversation. I've enjoyed learning from all of you. James, thank you so much for joining us, because obviously we would not in a credible way be able to tackle this conversation. I believe, all have valid perspectives, but it would not be credible without you and yours on this particular front, for sure.
Thank you, James.
Appreciate it.
And
We hope to be back next Tuesday night. And James, looking forward to the season. You know, if we got to float this show, and just let us know what your driving schedule is every whatever Tuesday night, then we'll have to do that.
Yeah.
I don't have. The good thing is I sold my gym, so I don't have my gym anymore. So really, it's just about I can get to my studio with sense in, sit my ass down, and be able to do 7 to 8 or whatever it comes to. So I should be good once the season starts.
Good stuff. Melissa, we'll leave it right there.
Sorry.
All right, everyone.
Sorry.
Love it. Love the conversation. Love the live chat. Everybody was respectful for the most part that I could see. Thank you so much, everyone. And obviously, we're pumping out the college football content each and every day. You guys have a great week, and stay in touch.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Booyah.